War is often presented as a map. Red lines, blue lines, arrows moving forward. But maps never show everything. They do not show empty living rooms. They do not show silent schools. They do not show families surviving one day at a time. The Russia-Ukraine conflict has lasted too long. Too long to be called temporary. Too deep to be called ordinary. And now, this war is entering a new phase. Slower, heavier, more decisive, not only for armies, but for the people trapped inside it. In recent weeks, one reality stands out. Russia is advancing. Many are asking, is this a breakthrough? Is this a turning point? The answer is more complex. Russia's progress is real. But it is not sudden, not a blitzkrieg, not a shock offensive. What we see instead is constant pressure, day after day, week after week. Small villages are taken, key positions are secured, supply routes are pressured. On global maps, these changes look minor. On the battlefield, they are decisive. In modern warfare, size is not everything. Position is. One village can control a road. One road can decide logistics. Logistics decide endurance. Russia understands this very well. Rather than chasing symbolic victories, it closes space, slowly, systematically. This is not a war for headlines. It is a war for sustainability. And here, Russia shows a familiar strength, strategic patience, persistent pressure, operational discipline. Russia's current strategy is not a secret. This is a war of attrition, not to destroy the opponent in one blow, but to exhaust them. Artillery pressure, logistical disruption, costly rotations. Every day of resistance becomes heavier for Ukraine. Every week increases the price. This strategy is slow, unpopular, but effective over time. And Russia, shaped by long conflicts, knows how to outlast its opponent. Yet one truth must be acknowledged. Ukraine has not collapsed. It continues to resist. It continues to fight. It continues to endure. In some sectors, Ukrainian forces push back, using terrain, using timing. This is not a story of strength versus weakness. It is a story of two nations paying a high price. And throughout it all, civilians remain the most exposed.
120 человек и 41 день мы в подвале.
Было 200.
220 сначала было, потом разъехались.
This is where global attention is shifting, away from territory, away from victory claims, toward ordinary lives, children, elderly people, families who never chose war. They live between powerful forces, with no real choice, with no perfect protection, and as the war drags on, one reality becomes clearer. There is no real victory while civilians continue to suffer. In areas now under Russian control, images appear that raise questions. Civilians seem calm, not panicked, sometimes welcoming. For some viewers, this is confusing. For analysts, it requires careful explanation. First, history. Eastern Ukraine has long ties to Russia. Language, culture, cross-border families. For many residents, Russia is not entirely foreign. But history alone is not the main factor. Exhaustion is. Years under constant threat, sirens, power outages, limited water. In such conditions, politics becomes a luxury. What matters is survival. When gunfire stops, when aid arrives, when electricity returns. It feels like a small victory, not for a state, but for a household. Russia understands this reality. In areas it controls, it does not appear only as a military force. It appears as an administrator, humanitarian aid, food distribution, restoration of basic services. This is not abstract messaging. It is felt on the ground, and in the chaos of war, even limited stability matters. Is this purely humanitarian or also strategic? The answer can be both. In modern conflict, humanitarian action and strategic interest often overlap, but for civilians, motives matter less than results. If children can eat, if homes have power, if nights are quieter, that is enough for now. Still, honesty is essential. Not every smile means support. Not every welcome means political agreement. In conflict zones, adaptation is survival. A smile can mean safety. Silence can mean protection. Serious analysts understand this and avoid simple conclusions. Global perception is changing. The world is tired of endless war, tired of rhetoric, tired of casualty numbers. What people look for now is impact, stability, civilian protection. And in this context, Russia has managed to present itself as present on the ground, not flawless, not without controversy, but visibly active. Does this mean the war will end soon? Not yet. Will Russia continue to advance? Possibly at a cost. Will Ukraine stop resisting? Not anytime soon. What is clear is this: the phase of the war has changed, from speed to endurance, from offense to sustainability, from symbols to substance. Russia is advancing, territory is increasing, pressure is rising. But the core of this war is not the map, it is the people living between the lines, how the war is fought, and how suffering is managed. The world is no longer judging only strength, but the ability to impose order within chaos. And perhaps this is where the direction of the conflict will increasingly be decided. War may be about states, but peace is always about people.